Hello, hello. So, instantly dies. Originally, I was going to record or go find a fic to record after like a week. I got bored one day, um, and started poking around through things I drew fan art for. And then I remembered this fic existed. Izuku's totally normal cat of mass destruction. Okay? First of all, it has an animal in it. That's a win for me. Second of all, I don't really think it has a ship, really. Like, if it does, it's not the main focus. It was so unimportant that I forgot it existed. Yeah, it's a gen fic. I will actually read the tags for this fic, because they're kind of funny, in my opinion. I also read the summary. I'm actually planning to do all 3 chapters of this in one, which is 12,000 words. Why have I decided to do this? I don't know. I have a friend in the call with me, who can't say hi, but it's Sailor. So Sailor's in here, um, and going to listen to me absolutely ramble and probably fail to say words for the next 28 minutes or more. So, let me get to reading these tags I grabbed. Let's start with the summary of the name. Izuku's totally normal cat of mass destruction by katydid. Summary: Gigamakia gets turned into a cat, and Izuku adopts him. Did I need to say more about this fic? Like, because the thing is, I don't really like ship fics. One, it feels weird to read them. Two, I'm just not crazy about ship fics. And also, how many people are like looking for a fic that doesn't focus on a ship? I know I am, so I may as well serve the demographic of people. So yeah, they made this harder to find a fic, and this just fit the bill. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna read the tags. Gigamakia and Midoriya Izuku. Gigamakia and All for One or Sensei. Class A1 and Midoriya Izuku. Eri and Gigamakia. Character tags: Gigamakia, Midoriya Izuku, One for All, or not One for All for One. How many times do I get those two confused? I'll tell you too many times. Eraserhead, Class A1, and Eri. Sensei All for One is Midoriya Hazashi, Animal Transformation. Everything's better with cats. Class A1 Shenanigans. Cat Lover Azawa Shota, Eraserhead. Class 1A Dorms, Mega Crack, Alternate Universe Canon Divergence. Midoriya Izuku is a problem child. No angst, only fluff. Precious Eri, younger sibling Eri. So yeah, that's this wonderful fic. Now, I do have tea. That this tea is the basic blend. Yep, we're going back to basics. And I'm gonna shut the fuck up and actually get to reading. Okay. In All for One's eons of existence, he'd never before been lowered to sitting in a room going over his budget. Whenever he needed some more money, he killed people and stole it. But currently, he was lying low after pretending to have died at All Might's hands, under his civilian identity, Hazashi Midoriya. He had a wife and a child to feed. His adopted child decayed everything in his room on a regular basis. Thus, Hazashi had been forced to sit at a cramped table across from Dr. Garaki and go over Excel sheets on a small tablet. Fluorescent light cast shadows across the tanks in the laboratory. Nomu floated in bubbling tubes. Dr. Garaki pointed at a line on the screen labeled as "Go Die, All Might." What is this, expense master? Except for the essentials to keep our operation running, that's our biggest monthly payment. Hisashi winced. That line was his funding for his son's All Might merch obsession. Unfortunately, he knew better than to deny Izuku his merch. Hisashi had already fought that battle with his little brother and lost. Yoshi had once raided a Yakuza mansion to obtain a Captain Hero poster. Hisashi has no doubt his son would be just as bad if denied his addiction. But Hisashi had no intention of admitting what he spent that money on. It would be too embarrassing. So he struck back and said, "Oh, what's this line?" He pointed at an unlabeled line that he knew full well was for the doctor's hair loss treatment. Dr. Rocky stroked his mustache. Maybe we should cut Tomura's video game funding? Actually, Tomura makes money instead of losing it, even with all the equipment he destroys. Hasashi shrugged. Apparently, virtual items can be sold online for real money. Who would have guessed? He could have some sort of streaming channel set up where people pay him to watch him play games. People pay to listen to Tomura curse at screens? Dr. Garaki eyebrows rose. His donations go up every time he decays something. Hasashi had a long ago lost faith in humanity, but even so, people kept finding new ways to be amusingly idiotic. Get this. He has a rabid fan club. You got your new Nomu the last time a stalker tried to break into his house. Dr. Graki shook his head. I'll never understand modern youth. Zashi pointed. What's this line? That's the next biggest budget expense. Dr. Graki said, that's Gigamakia's food budget. I'll move it to the essential tab. Wait, I might have a quirk for that. Zashi mentally ran through the list of his hoard. He had a quirk that increased his ability to survive anything, including starvation. But it wouldn't stop Gigamakia from weakening with hunger. Besides, he preferred to keep that one for himself. A few years ago, I obtained a quirk that shrunk the user. No, I forced that one on that annoying salesman, and then squashed him with my slipper. Damn it! At the time, Hisashi had assumed he would never need a useless ability like that. Wait, I have a quirk that lets the user turn into a cat! Gigamakia would even be able to transfer back at will if he needed to fight. But as long as he's in animal form, he'll only need to eat a can of cat food. It's perfect! Gigamakia's food consumption was enormous. Eliminated Eliminate that expense would solve their budget issues. In addition, it would keep him out of trouble. Recently, Gigamakia had accidentally stepped on UA's training camp, incidentally squashing the League of Villains and ruining their incept attack. This had caused UA to shift to a dorm system, making it impossible to complete the League's villain plan to kidnap a student. This was a special annoyance to Zashi because it meant his son had to move to the dorms. But it was impossible to punish Gigamakia because he either didn't notice or freaked out and threatened to commit surplus because Lord was angry with him. This seemed like a subtle way to get a little payback. Dr. Graki asked, Master, will Gigamakia be willing to stay in cat form? He will, as long as I explain the situation properly, Hasashi said with a smirk. When Hasashi arrived at the mountain, he was picked up by Gigamakia and showered with cheek rubs and tears, holding up Hasashi. Gigamakia bellowed, Is today the day I kill the cursed All Might for injuring you, master? I have a more important mission for you. Hasashi patted his bodyguard's giant wrist. I need you to spy on the heroes for me. Gigamakia straightened, holding Hasashi up higher. I am at your command! This is a very dangerous mission. It will require you to take on the form of a cat. If you don't think you can handle it, then you can turn it down. Sashi knew how his bodyguard would respond to that provocation. Provocation? Perfect. Fuck, I don't want to say that word. Okay. Sure enough, Gigamakia bellowed, I will not fail you! I will crush the puny heroes and expose their secrets! Set me down, then I'll give you the quirk. On the ground, Zashi pressed his palm against Gigamakia's massive one. In a blaze of light, Gigamakia shrank down to a brown cat, about the size of a mountain lion, with fluffy fur so thick he looked like a giant ball. His radio crashed into the dirt next to him. He meowed, a loud, a sound so loud it bent over a tree. Hisashi blinked. The original owner had turned into a regular house cat, but it appears Gigamakia's size had translated into a more massive, muscular cat. Even so, he'd still eat far less this way. Remember, you could change back to your original form, but only do it if your life is in danger. We can't let your secret identity be exposed. Now, wait here on this mountain for the heroes to come, Hisashi said, congratulating himself on his brilliant plan. This would keep Gigamakia from stepping on any other important operations. At the cheap price of a dozen cans of cat food he had left behind. A week later, Gigamakia got bored of waiting for the heroes to show up. He couldn't fail his master's task. Gigamakia made his way down the mountain, looking for UA, a school full of heroes. A flood warning had been issued across Musatafu. Rain poured down as thick as waterfall. Lightning crackled across the sky. Anyone with a good sense was indoors. However, Izuku had been determined to purchase the newly released Teacher All Might figure. The thunderstorm had scared off all the quitters, so Izuku had been able to obtain two figures. Bundling them under his raincoat, he hurried back to the dorms. A furry lump lay on the doorstep. Izuku stopped and knelt down in front of the cat. Was that a cat or a lion? Surely it must be a cat. Silver white eyes snapped open. The cat moaned pitifully. It tried to stand up, but only partly rose to nuzzle Izuku's leg. Izuku's heart melted. Aw, aren't you a good boy? Or girl, I suppose? He couldn't possibly ignore an animal in distress. With the strength honed on the beach full of trash, Izuku picked up the cat and carried it inside. It took 2 soaked towels to even slightly dry out the massive amount of fur. By that point, Izuku had confirmed that this was a boy cat. Also, the poor animal looked bedraggled and exhausted. There was no sign of a collar. Even so, Izuku told himself not to get attached. Pets weren't allowed in the dorms. In the kitchen, Izuku found a can of salmon. It was labeled with Koda's name, so Izuku made a note to reimburse his classmate later. This was an emergency. The cat's stomach was rumbling as loudly as the thunder outside. The cat immediately fell on the salmon, licking his lips. He looked up at Izuku through half-closed eyes and slowly blinked. Then he chirped. Izuku's resolve to not get attached completely went out the window. I'm gonna name you Furry Mite. To Gigamakia, it made very little difference what body he took on, as long as he was useful to the master. The cat form had increased his agility and jumping power. However, he had trouble adapting to being small. The rain felt heavier. He might not eat as much, but he grew hungrier at a faster rate without his fat reserves. A car had nearly run him over. Gigamakia had almost changed back in size, but he remembered promising his master never to do that unless his life was in danger. The master had been very upset for some reason when Gigamakia had squashed the UA training camp, even though he normally laughed at damage to heroes. By the time Gigamakia had found Yue, he had been filthy, stoked, and exhausted. Then he met his miracle, a tiny boy who smelled like Master. From that point forward, Gigamakia's sole goal had been to protect the little lord. Compared to Master, the little lord was so tiny and fragile. Gigamakia would become bodyguard to the little lord. The little lord's bedroom was full of images of the hatred enemy All Might. Gigamakia was tempted to pee on them, but the last time he destroyed All Might merchandise, his master had gotten angry and ranted about needing to buy even more as a gift for someone. Lord hated it when he had to spend more of his money on the smiley menace, so Gigamakia had learned self-control. He only sneered at the posters on the wall. After the little lord went to sleep, Gigamakia decided to patrol the grounds for danger. His new form came with instincts, including a strong curiosity about many smells outside. Unfortunately, the window was slightly loose. He was able to push it open with his nose and hop onto the nearest tree. From there, he planned to leap down to the ground. But the ground looked much higher in his smaller form. He turned back towards the window. The branch shook. He was no longer certain how he'd been able to make the leap in the first time, or confident he could do it again. Gigamakia was stuck. He mewed. Meow, meow. Azawa suffered from perpetual insomnia. Sometimes a walk tired him out enough to fall back to sleep. He threw on sweatpants and a sweatshirt over his pajamas, then headed outside. Walking a circle around UA grounds, he snuffled and yawned. Glowing white eyes stared down from a tree overhead. Azawa leapt back, his flashlight swinging upwards. At first, he thought that a bear had somehow gotten onto school grounds. Then the creature hissed. On closer look, it was a cat. An enormous cat. Probably a stray, judging from the lack of a collar. The poor kitty seemed to have gotten stuck up in the tree. Azawa had trained his strength for his career, but he still doubted he could carry such a giant cat. A stray also would be more likely to bite or scratch him, but he couldn't abandon the unfortunate animal. Azawa hurried back to the teacher's quarters, then returned with a board and a can of wet cat food. He always kept cat food in his room. Azawa propped up the board against the tree like a ramp, and then he opened the can and placed it at the bottom. The giant cat slowly rose, becoming even more massive. He climbed down the ramp and then devoured the food. After a quick cleaning, the cat sauntered over with a happy tail dance. He rubbed his cheek on Azawa's leg. The cat was so tall it almost reached the human's hip. Azawa loved fluff. This giant cat was twice as fluffy as the usual feline. His heart thumped. What an amazing beauty! Azawa's self-control snapped. He dropped down to his knees and petted the cat behind his ears and his chin. Who's a good kitty? You! Yes, you! Oh, you are the prettiest kitty. I love you. Behind him, someone cleared their throat. Midoriya said, "Oh, good! You found Furry Might. I've been looking for him." Ozawa froze, one hand under the cat's chin. He stood up. He did not look at the cat. He definitely did not meet his students' eyes. As long as they didn't make eye contact, there was plausible deniability. Coldly, Ozawa said, "Pets aren't allowed in the dorms, problem child." He was not truly annoyed, but the usual standards of Midoriya mischief, this was quite cute. But he had an image to maintain. Midoriya winced. "I know, I'm sorry. I found him this evening, cold and hungry. I promise I'll take him to the shelter tomorrow. It might be hard for such a large and old stray to get adopted," Zawa muttered, mostly to himself. Midoriya wrung his hands. Yes, I had that concern too, but even if I could persuade my mother, our apartment doesn't allow pets either. Even so, I want to keep him. For a moment, Aizawa vividly flashed back to Oboro with the kitten and a sheepish smile, saying, I'd feel terrible leaving him at home all day. Usually remembering Oboro caused Aizawa pain, but this time it brought a small smile to his face. It would be nice to have a cat around UA, to pet and play with. Maybe he could turn a blind eye. Wait, what was Aizawa thinking? He was no longer a student, he was an adult, the teacher, the responsible one in charge of enforcing the rules. He had to maintain control of himself, for he might, not understanding why the petting stopped, push his head against Aizawa's hand. Aizawa's self-control snapped. He dropped to his knees and buried his nose in the fur. Aw, you are the best, most perfect kitty. Furry Might licked his nose. You like me. Aizawa whispered in awe. Yes, I love you too. Midoriya did not say a word, but the silence was loud. Aizawa straightened. He adjusted his collar. He said, I didn't see anything tonight, and neither did you, Midoriya. Got it? As long as I don't see the cat, I can't kick him out of the dorms. Midoriya snapped straight and saluted. Sir, yes, sir. You won't regret this, sir. My cat will be a model cat, sir. There is no cat, Aizawa said pointedly. There is no cat, sir. Midoriya staggered backwards under the weight of the giant cat leaping into his arms. Izuku had successfully hidden Furry Might for several days, and he was confident that no one except Mr. Aizawa suspected anything. As Izuku sat at his laptop working on his homework, Furry Might nuzzled his leg and made pleading eyes. Sighing, Izuku said, I just fed you an hour ago. You can't be hungry already. Furry Might existed in a perpetual state of hunger. However, it couldn't be good for the cat's health to eat nonstop. Izuku had to stay strong and resist the big pleading eyes. Furry Might leapt on the desk and flopped onto Izuku's computer, slamming the lid down. Hey, I haven't saved yet. With a grunt, Izuku heaved the cat off his laptop. Luckily, his document was still open. Giving in to the meows, he petted Furry Might. Meow, meow. A few seconds later, Furry Might's tail flopped onto the keyboard, sending a line of gibberish down the document. Izuku looked around the room. He'd gotten a new laptop for his last birthday, and he yet hadn't disposed of the old one. He took out his old laptop and set it on the desk. Immediately, Furry Might flopped on top of it, purring. His decoy a success, Izuku returned to working on his homework. A knock came from his door. Ochako called, Have you gotten to the problem number 6 yet? I'm stuck. Sure, Izuku got up before he remembered his giant, conspicuous cat. Give me a moment. My room's a mess. Maybe he could hide the cat in his closet? Furry Might meowed loudly. Meow! From the other side of the door, Ochako asked, Meow? Knowing he was busted, Izuku opened the door. Yeah, I kinda adopted a cat and snuck him into the dorms. He wasn't particularly worried. Ochako wasn't a snitch. Ochako's eyes widened. I always wanted a pet, but my parents could never afford one. She floated into the room. I won't tell, I promise. Can I pet him? Of course, Izuku said, hastily closing the door before anyone else noticed. Ochako's hands hovered in the air. I don't know how to pet a cat. Here, try scratching the base of his ears. Izuku demonstrated. Fluffy Might purred. As Ochako rubbed, a smile formed on her lips. He's fluffy! Furry Might rolled over to show his belly. Ochako reached down. Izuku shook his head and said, "No, he does not like being touched on the belly. Try rubbing under his chin instead." As she gave Furry Mite chin rubs, Ochako said, "This is just what I needed after spending all night on homework. My energy is recharged!" Izuku laughed. "Yeah, Furry Mite is good at that. He brings the smiles, just like his hero namesake, All Might." He wondered why this made Furry Mite growl. Mina jogged back towards the dorms, holding a cup of coffee and a donut. She'd put studying off for a math exam for weeks, and now she needed caffeine and snacks for her cramming. Silver eyes gleamed in the darkness, the same eyes Mina had seen on the villain who attacked her and her friends in the middle of school. Mina leapt backwards, throwing her donut in the air as she summoned acid, only to see a giant brown cat stroll out from behind a tree. Barely, Mina managed to grab the donut before it hit the ground. Bent over awkwardly, she chuckled. "No more all-nighters for me. I'm mistaken cats for villains. Sorry, I nearly attacked you, kitty. I'll get you a treat to make up for it." The cat's ear perked up and he meowed. Meow! Almost like he understood her. But a lot of pets knew the word treat. It wasn't all that surprising. Shrugging, Mina headed to the kitchen with the cat trailing after her. Furry Mite had run away from the bedroom again. The little escape artist. Izuku had already searched the upper floor. He paused outside the kitchen. Light and laughter came from inside, then a loud purr. He knew only one cat purred with a force strong enough to rattle the window panes. Izuku peeked around the cracked corner. Mina was petting Furry Mite. "This is the softest cat ever." Momo pulled a cat laser from her arm. A cloth bird hung from the end. She dangled it in front of the cat. Furry Mite pounced. Momo laughed. "I always wanted a pet cat, but my mom's allergic." A pile of cat toys surrounded her, likely all created by her quirk. Kirishima picked up the empty bowl from the floor and added it to the dishwasher. "I wonder who stuck a cat into the dorms." Izuku sweated. Maybe he could bluff his way out of this? Furry Mite raised his head and sniffed the air, and then ran forward and leapt on Izuku. Izuku scooped up his giant cat. That reaction had busted him, he suspected. Sure enough, Mina asked, "He's yours?" Izuku summoned his most pitiful expression. "Yes, this is Furry Mite. I found him on the streets. My place back home won't allow pets. I couldn't leave him abandoned out in the cold." "Aw." Momo, Mina, and Kirishima chorused together. "Don't worry, bro," Kirishima said. "We won't tell anyone." "Thank you," Izuku said, setting Furry Mite down. "Mr. Ozawa will turn a blind eye as long as I don't let Furry Mite get into trouble." Momo created a small plush bird and gave it to Furry Mite. "It'll be fun to have a cat to play with." "I can be a scratcher!" Kirishima activated his hardening quirk. "Hey, come over here!" Furry Mite ignored him. Kirishima waved his leg in the cat's face. "Look, you can scratch my leg. It'll be funny." Rearing back, Furry Mite splashed with his front paw. Kirishima leapt backwards. "Whoa! He scratched me! I can't believe he broke my quirk! This cat is manly!" "Are you okay?" Mina asked, bringing over a paper towel. "Yeah, it's just a small cut." Changing back, Kirishima held the paper to his leg. "You shouldn't have provoked him," Izuku scolded. "Sorry." Kirishima hung his head. "You've got an awesome cat. I bet he could do hero work." Koda walked into the kitchen. "You texted me asking for help to finding the owner of the cat?" "Actually, we already found the owner." Mina glanced at Izuku. Alas, Izuku realized that his secret was spreading. He tried to smile. Sorry for the trouble." Koda knelt down. "Nice to meet ya." He held out his hand. Furry Mike didn't react, playing around with the bird toy at his feet. Coda frowned. Odd. Animals like me. Come over here. Furry Mike glanced, sniffed, then walked over to Mina, rubbing against her legs. Total shock filled Coda's face. Are you sure that's a cat? Izuku said, to be honest, he might be a mountain lion. Coda cried. He could be a villain pretending to be a cat. Izuku laughed. It felt rude, but he hadn't been able to help the reaction. I'm serious. Coda stood up. I've never met an animal who ignored me before. Mia chuckled. Yeah, but a villain? Isn't that too far? She rubbed under Furry Mite's chin. You're a good boy, aren't you? He purred. Momo petted the cat's back. Perhaps he's a quirked animal. That just makes it more important for us to look after him. She pulled out her phone. I'll have the most luxurious cat bed delivered tomorrow. Let's see what Google says that cat's like. Coda rubbed his arms. He gives me the willies. I can't explain it, but that thing feels wrong. He backed out of the kitchen, then fled. Izuku sighed and scratched Furry Mite's ears. Don't feel bad, Furry Mite. Not everyone is a cat person. Tenya first met Furry Mite when the cat leapt on him, licked his face, knocked him backwards into an armchair. Izuku ran into the common room a few seconds after his cat. Sorry about him. Aw, look, he likes you. And a voice muffled by a pile of fur. Oh yes, Tenya said. There may be a cat in the dorms, but I haven't ruled out a bear. Izuku chuckled nervously and rubbed his hair. Yeah. Even with his face covered by a cat, Izuku could visualize Tenya's raised eyebrow. Midoriya, cats are against dorm rules. He might be a mountain lion? Is that against the rules? I can't recall anything about mountain lions in the school handbook, but it doesn't seem proper. Aw, come on, can you say no to these adorable eyes? Izuku petted Furry Mite's head. Furry Mite gazed at Tenya with a glowing silver stare. Tenya swallowed. Technically, there's nothing about hell beasts in the school's rule. As if against his will, his hand went up to rub Furry Mite's ear. A loud purr shook the armchair. Izuku beamed. Clearly, you two have become fast friends. Tenya said, I came down here to clean. Then I have homework. Can you remove your cat and/or mountain lion? Izuku shook his head. Sorry, the cat leaves when the cat wants to leave. It's a sacred rule of cat ownership. You're stuck until he decides to get off you. Excuse me. Tenya petted Furry Mite some more. If it's a rule, I suppose I can't argue. After Furry Mite discovered that Tenya's legs became extra warm after training, the cat became a permanent fixture in the class president's lap. After so many accidental meetings, Izuku decided he should introduce Shoto to Furry Mite. Clearly, it was only a matter of time. Pushing open his bedroom door, Izuku explained, Furry Mite is officially a secret, although Mr. Ozawa agreed to turn a blind eye. Furry Mite leapt down from his fancy bird nest cat bed, courtesy of Momo. He wandered over, sniffed Shoto, then rubbed his legs. Shoto said, so that's what has been making noise late in the night and eating all the food. You have a raccoon! We have one creeping around the Todoroki's ancestral mansion, too. Izuku blinked. So far, nearly everyone has assumed Furry Mite was a mountain lion on their first meeting. But a raccoon was a new one. No, he's a cat. He's way too big to be a raccoon. Authoritatively, Shota said. Raccoons can grow very large inside. Ours is bigger than me. Hates the Denver merchandise and has a fire quirk. Furry Mike does hiss at my All Might merchandise, but he's not. Wait, a fire quirk? Are you sure you're describing a raccoon? Yes, I'm certain. Raccoons are distinguishable by the patches around their eyes. Here, I took a picture of ours. Shota held up his phone, and an image had been late at night and was blurry, even though Izuku could faintly make the outline of a man with scarred face and stitches under his eyes. Izuku swallowed. Shoto, there's a villain sneaking around your house. Toshinori pushed open the door to the teacher's lounge. I wanted to ask you about today's exercise. He stopped. He stared. Azawa was nearly buried under a massive pile of fur. The fur shifted, revealing a cat's face. How did a cat get into UA? I don't know what you're talking about, Azawa said, leaning back in his chair under the weight of the massive cat in his lap. I don't see a cat. Maybe you don't see him because he's covering your eyes, Toshinori said. There are no cats at UA, Azawa insisted in a muffled voice. He reached up to rub behind the ears of the supposedly non-existent cat. Toshinori cleared his throat. If that's not a house cat, then it's a bobcat. The giant cat leapt down from the chair, and Toshinori realized it might be a monster straight from hell. Bearing fangs, the cat hissed. Hatred gleamed in its eyes. Then it pounced on Toshinori with the clear intent to rip his face off. Ah! Help! Toshinori screamed as he went down under fur and claws. Cat attack! I see no cat, Azawa insisted. Midoriya ran into the room. Furry Mite! I finally found you! Bad cat! He picked up his cat. No attacking, All Might. Are you alright? I'm so sorry. Toshinori sat up. I'm fine, young Midoriya. I've handled worse than a cat. Which was true, but damn, that animal had been fast. Those teeth had gotten very near his throat before he stuck up an arm to block. You named him Furry Mite? Midoriya blushed. Yeah, I hope you don't mind. Toshinori felt flattered. It made him all the more determined to get along with the cat. It's a great name. I'm sure I'll get along wonderfully with my namesake. Furry Mite growled. We'll be friends in no time. Toshinori was ready planning to research how to make cats like him. The next time Izuku heard purring from the kitchen, he wasn't surprised to find his classmates doting on his cat. Ochako poured half food into a bowl, while Jiro and Kaminari pushed around a mouse on wheels. Furry Mite jumped at him. At this point, Furry Mite had been adopted as the dorm pet, and everyone took turns feeding him. This was very helpful for Izuku's budget, because his cat ate a lot. Guess what I ordered? Izuku held up a hat with yellow tufts. It's an All Might hat for Furry Mite. Looking up, Ochako clapped her hands. It would look adorable on him. Sitting at the table munching crackers, Koda called. I've been doing research, and I think your cat might be either a witch's familiar or a yokai known as a Banshino. Nico. Ignoring the naysayer, Izuku knelt down and put on the hat. Here you go, Furry Mite. Furry Mite shook off the hat and ripped it to pieces. Izuku cried, No! As Koda insisted, I keep telling you, there's something wrong with your pet. Plenty of cats don't like to wear clothing. Izuku sadly gathered up the scraps of his newest All Might merch. I should have approached him more carefully. Why can't I talk to him? Koda demanded. Izuku gathered his cat close and nuzzled him. Clearly, Furry is too traumatized from his hard life on the street to talk. Poor baby, he deserves love and affection, not slander. Ochako rubbed under Furry chin. Aw, what a good kitty. Koda stomped off, muttering to himself. The hell is that racket? Katsuki pushed open the door. Immediately, Furry crouched and growled. Katsuki glared. Are you starting something, fuzzball? Izuku leapt between them. Hey, don't threaten my cat. Katsuki's eyes narrowed. That cat is fucking weird. You too? Jiro sighed, tossing the mouse in her hand. It's an ordinary cat. Kaminari laughed. You're scared of a cat? Katsuki glared. Tch, you extras don't understand. That cat has the eyes of a villain. Kaminari grinned. You don't get along with cats because you're a Pomeranian. Huh? Katsuki lunged. Kaminari hid behind Jiro. Furry took advantage to leap at Katsuki's turn back. No, you don't. Katsuki grabbed his cat this time. Do you have something against people with spiky hair? A couple days ago, Furry also growled at a delivery man with short, spiky hair. Maybe a man with spiky hair abused you. Poor traumatized kitty. Izuku hugged his cat close. I'll love you until you forget about that meanie. Katsuki snorted. You sound even more delusional than usual, nerd. That cat probably ate his last owner. With a death glare, Ochako growled. Slander the adorable kitty one more time and I'll make you the first man on the sun. Don't tell me what to do, Katsuki growled, and then left at a deliberately slow pace, as if to prove to everyone he wasn't running away. Is he gone? Kaminari peered out from behind Jiro. If Bakugo comes back, I'm giving you up, Jiro said dryly. Koda knocked on the door. Excuse me? Come in, Nezu called. He sat behind his desk with his paws folded. Koda wrung his hands as he approached. Principal, there's something strange about Midoriya's cat. But no one will believe me. I know animals. I'm sure that I'm right. Nezu's grin became manic. I want you to picture a giant exploding into existence, blowing the roof off the dorms and destroying the entire school. Koda blinked. Sir, I'm picturing it, but I don't understand. Nezu said, Then I want you to imagine how much money it would take to repair the school. Money I already spent on a robot that Midoriya broke at the entrance exam. Then keep your mouth shut. Seeing the panic in the principal's eyes, Koda realized that if Nezu could not control furry might, then they were all doomed to the reign of terror of the Hellcat. Okay, there are omakes between each chapter, so I am gonna read the omakes before I go to the next chapter. Omake time! Omake. The real reason Gigamakia hates Katsuki exists. Gigamakia. Spinky hairs! It's the second guy! Omake. Suspected raccoon AU. Izuku. Ochako, help me. There's a criminal sneaking around Shoto's house, and he thinks that it's a raccoon. Shoto, because I'm right. What do you see in this picture? Ochako, that's a human. He's clearly taller than you. Ochako, all the better for raccoons to reach trash bins. Ochako, he has spiky black hair. Shoto, all for the better for raccoons to blend into the night. Ochako, he has hands. Shoto, that's how raccoons do their laundry and make sandwiches in the kitchen. Ochako, he has blue flames coming from his hands. Shoto, nonsense. All raccoons have fire quirks. Ochako, what do you think a raccoon is? Incorrect quotes. The Avatar, The Last Airbender edition. Azawa. There is no cat at UA. Here we are safe. Here we are free. Gigamakia. Meow! Ah, Azawa. Ah, have a treat. There is no cat at UA. If Izuku realized the blackmail potential. Izuku. What's that? You won't let me get more treats for Furry Might? I guess I'll just have to play another game with him. Like asking how high he can reach. Nazu. What a surprise! Regulations were just changed 5 seconds ago. My, how time flies. Please go get your treats and leave my poor building alone. Nizu terrified of that. Okay, let's get on to chapter 2 here. Let me get on. While young Midoriya had gone home to visit his mother, he asked Toshinori to carry out a very important task, feeding and giving a bath to his cat. For his second encounter with Furry Might, Toshinori had become prepared. He read everything on the internet about befriending cats. He brought along toys, catnip, and treats. He also put on a full suit of armor. Toshinori opened the door. Here, kitty kitty. Furry Might snarled and lunged. His claws left deep marks in the steel armor. Toshinori's visor fell over his face. He picked up the cat and wrestled him to the basin full of water. It's time for your bath. It's good for you. You'll feel better afterwards, and then we'll become great friends by the time Midoriya gets back. Furry Might howled like a chorus of damn souls. In minutes, Toshinori lay on his back on the floor. His armor had been ripped to shreds. The entire room was soaking wet. Only Furry Might remained completely dry, sitting on a toilet and licking his paws. Covered in scratches, Toshinori moaned, I failed, young Midoriya! Not for the first time, Izuku wandered the halls of the dorm, asking, Has anyone seen my cat? Furry Might had seemed grumpy after Izuku's brief visit home, clinging to him for a week, and then the cat had gone back to escaping every day. Izuku had repaired the latch on his window, and the cat had broken again. Furry Might could probably break the door if he wanted out badly enough. It was difficult to prevent 50 plus pounds of cat from going wherever he pleased. Passing by in a hallway, Fumikage said, I believe I saw the creature of darkness headed towards the kitchen. Izuku sighed, probably begging for food again, as if he needs to grow even bigger. I would follow the trail of ancient evil vibes and find him. Fukakame turned and gestured Izuku to follow. Izuku wasn't sure if Fumikage called all cats creatures of darkness or just his, but there was no way denying that Fukakame was good at finding Furry Might. Fukakame led him straight to the living room, where Sue sat cross-legged on the floor in front of Furry Might, unblinking. Girl and cat stared deep into each other's eyes. Were they in a staring contest? Was it on purpose or by accident? The moment was broken when Furry Might leapt up and pounced on Dark Shadow. Screaming, Dark Shadow dematerialized and fled along the wall. Furry Might pounced at the shadow, leaving scratches on the paint. The evil is upon us! Fukakame and Dark Shadow screamed together. He's just playing, Izuku said weakly, and then went to grab his cat. Mina had forgotten her textbook, and now she was late to class. Using acid to glide, she ran down to the dorm stairs, clutching her book. As Mina opened the dorm door, two silver-white eyes fixed on her. A tail lashed. Mina recognized the look of a cat who wanted to get outdoors. She tried to squeeze sideways through the door, cracking it too narrowly for him to escape. Furry Might butted her legs. Aw, What a fluffy kitty! Mina reached down to pet him. She let go of the door. Furry Mike pushed it open with his head and ran out. Mina ran after him, screaming, "Come back! You're supposed to be a secret! Midori will be very worried if I don't bring you back." Gigamakia was fond of the pink-haired girl who smelled of acid. He remembered meeting her many years ago, when she tried to help him. It was a shame she had no sense of direction, but the thought count. Apparently she hadn't learned directions. It was currently school time, but Gigamakia had watched her from the window as she ran towards the door instead. The poor girl looked frazzled. Thus, Gigamakia had taken it upon himself to guide her safely to her classroom. The pink-haired girl ran after him, screaming. She did not seem to understand that he was guiding her. This pitiful girl didn't even realize she had no sense of direction. At least Gigamakia knew he wasn't sharpest tool in the shed. That was why he had Master. At the classroom, Gigamakia received pets and treats from the baggy-eyed tree expert, who smelled of caffeine. He accepted this as his rightful due for guiding a lost child to class. The teacher had become Gigamakia's next favorite after the master's on account of his endless supply of cat treats and knack for searching the right spot behind the ears. Afterwards, Gigamakia wandered the school grounds. Little Lord had been upset with Gigamakia for attacking his bird friend. Gigamakia wanted to bring back a gift as an apology. The Lord always loved gifts. Surely Little Lord would be the same. When Gigamakia detected the scent of the great enemy All Might, his ears flattened and he growled. A skinny man sat on a bench reading. Even without his muscles, Gigamakia knew the man by his hated smell. Little Lord seemed very fond of images of the great enemy. In retrospect, the All Might merchandise that Gigamakia had often been sent to steal over the years had probably been gifts for the Little Lord. Perhaps Little Lord would appreciate a token of the real thing to add to his collection. An arm or a leg? The Master's doctor always liked fresh corpses. Gigamakia silently climbed up to the nearest tree and launched himself at the hated enemy, peacefully reading below. All Might screamed as a cat landed on his head. When Izuku returned to his room, Furry Might lay curled up in a sunny spot below the window. The cat immediately leapt up and nudged the offering across the floor, meowing. "Did you get me gifts?" Izuku stared at the pile of all my t-shirts, figurines, cups, keychains, and pens. "You didn't have to. I'm not angry that you attacked Dark Shadow. I know it's your instinct to chase birds. Wait, where did you get all this?" It wasn't as if the cat had a wallet. Oh dear, was Izuku going to get in trouble? Furry Might dropped a yellow lump at Izuku's feet. Izuku knelt down. "Is this hair? All Might's hair?" He poked the blonde strands. "Is there blood on it?" An explosion sounded down the hallway. Katsuki screamed. "When I find out who stole my All Might collection, you're dead." Izuku quickly shoved all the merchandise that he had forgotten buying into his closet. That he must have forgotten buying into his closet. Monoma arrived at the 1A dorms bright on an early morning. Pushing his hair back, he cried, "I heard that Class 1A has a cat." "I don't know what you're talking about," Izuku said, shoving Furry Mike's bulk into the hallway closet behind him. Monoma sneered. "I'm not here to tattle. Such behavior would be beneath me as your rival." "That's surprisingly good of you," Izuku said, giving up on holding the closet door closed. Furry Might lurked in the shadows behind him. "I'm here to brag. Behold!" Monoma whistled, and a golden retriever bounded forward. Since Class 1A got a cat, I nagged Mr. King, until he agreed to let 1B have a dog. Mona placed his hand on his mouth like an anime villainess. It cackled. Finally, we've beaten you! Dogs are the superior animals. Dogs always beat cats in fights. Just how 1B will always trump over Class 1A. Every time our dog chases your cat up a tree, you'll choke on the tears of misery and defeat. Or he might step out of the closet. Monoma's eyes widened in an uncharacteristically subdued voice. He said, "That's a lot of cat." Furry might chased Monoma and his dog up a tree. Gigamakia dashed down the sidewalk as the pink-haired girl ran after him, screaming in her usual incoherent fashion. Having found her wandering around lost in the dorms again, he had taken up the duty of guiding her. Too late, he realized he didn't know where she was going. But at least they were both getting exercise. The little lord sat on a bench outside school playing a handheld game with a small boy. The child had short, spiky black hair. Gigamakia leapt onto the bench, causing it to tilt, and offered up his head for pats. "How did you get out?" Izuku asked as he rubbed behind Gigamakia's ears. Mina staggered over, deadly sweat dripped from her forehead. She was barely able to speak between pants. "I swear, he came out of nowhere and slipped out the door." Izuku looked up with a scowl. "Did you let my cat out again?" Mina whimpered under the death glare. "I'm sorry." Gigamakia had successfully led the lost pink-haired girl to somebody who could give her directions. He had helped. He fluffed up proudly, his sparkling eyes demanding praise. Azuka said, "After Koda leaves, I will teach you how to open the door without letting Furry Might out. No one else has this problem. You'll get it right next time, or else," went left unsaid. Mina stumbled off, moaning, "I'm so dead." Gigamakia meowed. "Meow." A little annoyed she hadn't even thanked him for helping her. The boy peered over Izuku's shoulder. "Well, I've never seen a cat so big, and I've seen a lot of cats. Do you want to pet him too?" Izuku smiled. "This is Furry Might. Furry Might, meet Kota." As expected, Big Brother Izuku would have the coolest cat. Kota eagerly petted Gigamakia. Since this boy had a proper respect for the little lord, Gigamakia decided to allow it. He would forgive this child for having spiky hair, just like the terrible, horrible, no good, bad brother thief. Kota said, "My family has a lot of cool cats, but none this big. Can I take a picture and send it to Mandalay?" "Of course!" Izuku said. Gigamakia struck a pose, bared his fangs at the phone camera. Not only Mandalay had arrived to pick up, but all the other wild pussycats. "We're here to see the cat," Pixie God said with a gleam in her eyes. Izuku smiled, pleased that Furry Might had received more adoring fans. "Sure, I put him in my bedroom since he keeps running off." When Izuku opened the door, Furry Might laid asleep on his bed. Mandalay gasped and clutched her cheeks. "That is the single most magnificent cat in existence. The king of cats. No, the god of cats." Pixie Bog globbed Izuku. "I knew you were a talented rookie, but I'm even more impressed you tamed such a rare beast." On the bed, Furry Mike cracked an eye open and growled. He did not seem happy with Pixie Bob clinging to Izuku. Pixie Bob immediately dropped Izuku in favor of petting Furry Mite. Tiger and Ragdoll swarmed too. Izuku was briefly worried, but the pussycats clearly knew how to handle cats, and soon had Furry Mite purring. Mandalay whipped out her checkbook. "We must have him. He'll be the ultimate sidekick for your team. Name your price. Izuku shook his head. I'm sorry, but Furry Might is not for sale. 1,000,000 yen. Izuku briefly considered how much All Might merchandise he could buy, then shook away the treacherous thought. Not for any price. 5,000,000 yen? Mandalay said, her eyes gleaming with desire. On the other side of the room, Tiger and Furry Might had gotten into a staring contest. Izuku couldn't tell if they were getting along or if he'd need to intervene. Everything okay? Izuku called Furry Might's ears were lax, so it was probably fine. His tail would start lashing before he went for the throat. Izuku turned back to Mandalay. Like I said, my cat isn't for sale. Mandalay held out her checkbook. Write down any number you want. Izuku gently pushed away the checkbook. Furry Might is a member of my family. Mandalay's shoulder slumped. I understand. I apologize if I've offended. In the face of such an incredible beauty, I forgot myself. Izuku was weak to flattery for his cat. I could let you use them in your ads. Mandalay beamed. We'd be happy to pay you for that privilege. Thank you, Izuku said. I need money. I need the money. Mr. Ozawa said I had to reimburse Kachan for his All Might merch after a Furry Might destroyed it. Izuku considered this barely a lie, since if the merchandise was in his closet, it was definitely not going back to its original owner. It was confiscated for all of his belongings that Kachan had destroyed when they were children. From the Adation dorm rooms, Katsuki screamed, I know your evil cat stole my All Might merchandise, nerd. I don't want money. I want revenge and my shit back. Izuku whispered to Mandalay. He's in such a state of shock from the loss of his collection, he can't accept reality. It's tragic. Ozawa stood in front of the blackboard, erasing the writing from today's lecture. A brown cat in the window meowed. Meow! Outwardly, Ozawa did not react. If he acknowledged the cat, he might have to be expected to allow other pets in the dorm, which simply wasn't happening. Ozawa only granted special treatment to felines. However, he did pull a cat treat from his pocket and slip it under the cracked window. A tribute for the king of cats. Furry Might happily leapt onto the tree. Ozawa looked around. No one was watching. He reached out to pet. Toshinori pushed open the classroom door. I am here! His eyes fell on the giant cat. There you are! I bought bought one of every single type of cat treat in Japan. He held up his overflowing arms. Now you must like me! Furry Mike sneered and leapt down from the windowsill. Why? Toshinori cried, collapsing in a pile of tears. I guess you can't be number one at everything, Ozawa quipped smugly, before remembering he was supposed to pretend the cat didn't exist. Hazashi hadn't worried about Gigamakia in centuries. He knew his bodyguard was more than capable of taking care of himself. Gigamakia left disaster in his wake, but remained untouched by it, like a force of nature. When Hazashi had visited the mountain to replenish the cow food, he had been surprised but not too worried to see mostly untouched. Hazashi had assumed the corked cat must be hunting for himself, but he expected his biggest fan to immediately come running to greet him. Gigamakia could smell his master from miles away. It wasn't like him to remain hidden. Had Gigamakia gotten lost? That was most likely possibility. Hazashi would immediately launch a search, except he promised to eat dinner with his family that evening. It would have to wait until tomorrow. Hazashi flipped through the reports from his UA spy on the phone down the sidewalk. This is how he kept up to date on his son's life. Apparently, Izuku had gotten a pet, and the spy described only as Betty Horrible. There had also been frantic questions about if the doctor might have misplaced a Nomu or science experiment. The spy had always been a wimp, so Hisashi assumed his son had gotten a hamster. Putting his phone away, Hisashi pushed open the front door. "I'm home!" He used a quirk to disguise his scarred face, as he always did when visiting his family. He was still blind, but he used his various enhanced senses to compensate. So far, no one had noticed, except for the one time he poured salt into his coffee. Gigamakia lay on the carpet with Izuku and Inko petting him. Izuku looked up. "Dad, meet my new cat. Furry Mite, isn't he adorable?" With a happy yowl, Gigamakia leapt up and launched himself into Zashi's arms. "Aw, he likes you already," Izuku smiled. Into the cat's ear, Hisashi muttered, "I gave you the quirk so you could hide from heroes, not get named after one, you little traitor. Just look at you. You're wearing an all-night collar." Gigamakia licked his face. This is chapter 2, Zamakia, now. Let me first drink some tea. You guys get some tea drinking. Mainly because I don't want to cut this recording. I've had so many cuts in this thing. Anyway. Amakes! The League of Villains Nod Battle. Tomura, here's where we'll fight with All for One's bodyguard and convince him to join us. Spinner, there's no one here. Toga, I see a cat up in a tree. Here, kitty kitty. Tomura, I think the doctor was just messing with me. Incorrect quotes. Star Trek. TNG. Izuku, I'm trying to train my cat, but he won't do what I say. Maybe cats can't understand the point of specific commands for an action. Gigamakia meows in a specific way. Izuku, oh here, gives Furry Mite a cat treat. Jiro, I don't know about Furry Mite, but you're sorry, I need to read that again. Jiro, I don't know about Furry Mite, but your training is going well. Sato, I swear, I will cook enough to satisfy your appetite. Gigamakia, meow! Translate, challenge accepted. Later, Sato, I have failed. Izuku, how did Furry Mite get twice as big? At this rate, he won't fit on my bed. Sir Night-Eye versus Furry Mite. Years ago. All for one. My son wants nothing but All Might merch for his birthday. Again. I'm not giving the money that I stole fair and square to my arch nemesis. Gigamakia, I order you to steal All Might merch for me. Gigamakia, as my master commands. This time I won't destroy it. Present day. Sir Night-Eye, your merch looks suspiciously similar to some valuable items that were stolen from me. Excuse me? Izuku, excuse me? I've had my collection since I was a young child. This is not your merchandise. Katsuki, yeah, it's my merchandise your freaky ass cat stole from me. Katsuki versus Furry Mite. A week ago, we lost the entirety of Katja's All Might merchant collection. Katsuki, quit telling everyone that. I know you stole it, nerd. Izuku, wiping a tear from his eyes. Sometimes I still hear his delusional wails. Chapter 3. There's going to be bloopers at the end. Also, it all started. Okay, I'm just going to let that run. It all started with the unfortunate comedy of errors. Everyone knew that Denki Kaminari couldn't be held accountable for his own actions after his brain short-circuited. His friends shuffled him into the dorms and gave him some snacks until he went back to normal. He often enjoyed playing with furry might in his slack-jawed state, since he had about the mental capacity of a cat himself. Kamatari accidentally ripped open a mouse toy stuffed with catnip, and furry might licked it up. The class had found them rolling on the dorm floor together, Kamatari giggling and furry might making strange yodeling noise. Jiro laughed and snapped a picture. At 7:08 p.m., a crime occurred. All Might arrived at the dorm to give dinner bento to Izuku Midoriya. He discovered Furry Might sprawled on his belly, eyes zoned out and meowing. Slowly, All Might knelt down and lowered his hand. For once, Furry Might purred in appreciation. Emboldened, All Might took the opportunity to pet all over and rub behind the ears. After the drugs wore off, Izuku couldn't get his enraged and embarrassed cat to come down from the tree outside his window. Standing outside in the darkness, Izuku cupped his hands to his mouth and called, "Is it really such a big deal that All Might petted you? I know you. I don't know why you dislike him, but he's been nothing but pleasant to you." Furry Might yodeled furiously. Zuko said, "You made All Might happy, and that made me happy." Usually such an argument would have worked, but Furry Might only snorted. Furious white eyes glared downwards. From Furry Might's pitifulest meals, everyone would have thought the cat had been tortured instead of petted. Even a can of his favorite brand of salmon had failed to lure him down from the tree. Izuku put his hands on his hips. "You'll have to come down once you get hungry." With a long, drawn-out howl, Furry Might managed to convey that he was punishing himself for letting an evil All Might touch him by undergoing a hunger strike. It was a very expressive howl. Izuku had an exam to study for, so he went back inside. This temper tantrum couldn't last forever. He left his window cracked for Furry Might to return when he was ready, and a can of salmon on the windowsill. Gigamakia had utterly disgraced himself and his many years of service to his master. He had a sword and could hold it in his cat claws. He would commit surplus. The idiot brother had made hunger strikes look easy, but Gigamakia just kept getting more and more miserable after only a few hours. Eventually, he climbed down, but he could not return to his little lord and his salmon while disgraced. He had a notion that perhaps he would take a bite out of his hatred enemy to redeem himself that way, but he'd gotten himself turned around on his journey to Might Tower and somehow ended up in an alleyway. A little girl ran straight into him, bouncing off his thick fur. She wore a dirty dress with bandages all over her arms. She had white hair and crimson eyes like his master. "Kitty?" she whispered, enthralled. She reached out to touch him, and then her hand fell away. "Sorry, Kitty. I'm too dirty to pet you." Her lower lip wobbled. "And I don't have any treats." Gigamakia sat on his haunches and sniffed the air. It was difficult to pick up her scent because of the medical chemicals clinging to her, but an aura of a power radiated off of her. He'd always been able to detect powerful quirks, an ability his master had praised. The girl looked so much like Little Lord, and she was even strong. Could they have some relation? Could she be a distant descendant of the Lord's idiot brother? Or even the Lord's secret love child? According to the boy, with a warm and toasty fireside, secret love children could be found anywhere. The conspiracy boy was convinced that two people didn't even have to have sexual relations in order to produce a love child of the heart. Whatever that meant. A man in a toucan mask stepped out of the alley. "Eri, come over here." Flinching, Eri hid behind Gigamakia. He scowled. "I'm not letting you have a pet." Don't you have plenty of stuffed animals? That cat looks filthy, fat, and flea-ridden. Gigamakia bristled. His little lord kept his brown coat in perfect condition. The toucan man strolled over and grabbed Ari's hair, making her yelp in pain. Gigamakia growled loudly enough to rattle the nearby trash cans. No one dared touch someone who might or might not be related to his lord. He slammed a paw on the ground. The impact reverberated like the first tremors of an earthquake. The toucan man lost his grip on Eri. Like a professional bodyguard, Gigamakia caught Eri with one massive paw and shuffled her out of the way behind him. And then he transformed back into his giant form, shooting his head up into the clouds and busting the nearby wall. Before the enemy had the time to react, Gigamakia stepped on him. He stomped again and again, grinding the toucan man into fine red paste. Then he shrank down back to his cat form and neatly licked blood off his paw. Eri gazed with awestruck eyes. "You are the best kitty ever! I love you!" Gigamakia decided that someone who loved murder so much was probably Lord's secret love child. None of that sissy idiot's brothers squeamish about this little lady. Izuku heard the sound of paws on his windowsill. Then the salmon being scarfed down. Whilst looking up from his computer, he said, "Slow down, the food won't go away. If you got yourself dirty outside, you're getting a bath, whether you like it or not." "I'm hungry too," a child's voice said. Izuku jerked around. A girl who looked about 6 years old sat on Furry Mite's back, riding him like a horse. "Oh my god, my cat kidnapped someone," he whispered. Eri, the little girl waved. "Kitty killed a bad man and saved me." "My cat killed someone? I'm the worst pet owner ever. My cat is going to jail. What am I going to do?" Izuku clutched his hair. "What would Dad say? He'd tell me to put Furry Mite in a bank vault. He thinks all his problems can be solved with bank vaults." "Okay, what would Mom say?" "She'd probably tell me to do a good job disposing of the body and get vinegar and that vinegar gets out bloodstains out of clothing." Do I have any vinegar?" The girl said, "There's no body. Kitty stepped on his head and he went splat like a pancake." A wide grin on her face. She clapped her hands. Izuku's shoulder relaxed. Furry Mite was big, but not big enough to squash a human by merely by stepping on them. He was just a cat. Even someone as small as Izuku could carry Furry Mite around, to the astonishment of his classmates. Now that Izuku thought about it, cats did not seriously attack humans in the way dogs did. A sweet, loving cat like Furry Mite would never kill anyone. It was merely the little girl making up stories. "What an imagination you had," he said with a relieved chuckle. What's your name? How did you meet Furry Mite? Where do you live?" On closer examination, he saw the girl's dress was filthy. Her feet were bare, and she was covered in bandages. She didn't look like she'd been eating well either. His concern increased with each passing second. "I'm Eri. Furry Mite rescued me." She hopped off his back, but kept her grip on his fur he as he snarfed down salmon, as if afraid to be parted from him. "I don't want to go back home. They hurt me." "Then you won't go back," Izuku said firmly. "Let's get you some food." Then he could call Mr. Ozawa while she ate. Hopefully his teacher would be able to get the real story out of her. Boy, would it be difficult to explain that his cat had kidnapped/rescued someone. Having finished his salmon, Furry Mite bounded over to Izuku, nudging Eri along in front of him. He presented her like a gift. "You did good," Izuku said. Petting Furry Mite. You saved her. Furry Mite's enormous purrs rattled the All Might figurines around the room. On Izuku's computer, a news story played about how a giant appearing in Musatafu, then vanishing right away. Since the giant hadn't done anything beside knock over an abandoned building slated for demolition, it was treated as a human interest story. Mysterious, unidentified red paste and a toucan mask had been found at the scene. Commenters on screen speculated about if the giant had been responsible for the recent earthquake and tremors around the city. In the kitchen, Gigamakia devoured 2 more cans of salmon. Since he successfully rescued Little Lady, he'd been relieved from his penchant of starvation and could enjoy his favorite fish. Meanwhile, Izuku spoke into the phone. It's not my fault, Mr. Ozawa. It was Furry Mite, who I'm not trying to blame the cat. You know what you think. I know that you think that Furry Mite is perfect and can do no wrong, and normally I would agree, but there was peanut butter and jelly sandwich on the kitchen table. But Ari had only taken a few bites before dragging her chair over to the counter. She climbed up on the counter, opened the cabinet, and pulled out a bag of chicken-flavored cat treats. Gigamakia's ears perked up at the sound of the bag opening. Ari dumped all the treats in front of him. You are a very good kitty for killing overall. Do you think you could step on the rest of the 8 precepts too? Chirping, Gigamakia leapt on the treats and devoured them. He liked her. Lord would also reward him for murder. This was more proof they must be related. Izuku turned around. Oh no, that's too many treats for him to eat at once. Recognizing the ones on the floor as a lost cause, he picked up the bag and sealed the Ziploc. Ari, I'm glad you're getting along with Furry Mite, but you might make him sick. But murder is extra special. He deserves extra treats. She protested. Furry Mite didn't kill anyone. Maybe he knocked down this bad man. Izuku rubbed his forehead and muttered, I hope not. It might mean trouble. No, he was dead. Ari disagreed. She spoke slowly and deliberately. I watched it. His bones ground to dust with a crunch, crunch, crunch. Her eyes glowed with pleasure at the memory. Izuku cast her a concerned glance. Could you tell me more about what happened to you? It might have some traumatic to give you such vivid, grotesque daydreams. Ozawa opened the door, wearing a trench coat over his pajamas. The excitement never ends with you, problem child. The jokiness dropped out of his voice when he took in Aries' bebraggled condition. Oh dear. I'll call over Recover Girl. Then get her a bath. We'll need fresh clothes. I hope stores are open at this hour. Gigamakia rubbed Izawa's leg and purred, confident the tree expert could look after Lord's love child. After Eri told her tragic tale of woe, Nezu decided she should stay at UA for her protection. Even though Overhaul had mysteriously vanished, the other Yakuza might come after her. Ozawa took over guardianship of Eri. He frequently brought her to the dorms to play with Furry Mite, which everyone knew that was Ozawa's excuse to play with Furry Mite. Not for the first time, the Deku squad returned from class to be greeted by the sight of Furry Mite and Eri lying together on the sofa. Eri rested her head on the cat's soft belly. Aww, Ochako said, snapping a picture on her phone. They get along so well, Izuku said fondly. Despite his side, Furry Mite is very gentle at heart. I can't believe I ever thought for half a moment that he might kill someone. Kill someone? Tenya asked, alarmed. Pets can be put down if they bite humans. Furry Mite is family now. If anyone tried to hurt him, I would go rogue and commit murder again. Shaking his head, Izuku laughed. Oh, it was just a joke that Eri made. I think she likes to imagine that Furry might kill someone to protect her. It soothes her trauma. Should have brought over a blanket. I heated it up with my fireside. They placed the warm blanket over the sleeping duo. Another day, the four of them returned to the dorms to find Furry Mite biting a toucan doll on the neck, spilling spilling stuffing everywhere. Eri cackled and clapped her hands. Good kitty, very good kitty, growling, Furry Mite ripped the stuffed animal in two. Izuku sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. I should have known something was up when she wanted a stuffed toucan as a gift. I still think she's adorable, Ochako said, taking a picture. You killed Overhaul again! More treats! Izuku dumped out a bag of cat treats in front of Furry Mite. She went over to the bag. Don't overfeed my cat. He looked at Furry Mite's massive bulk. If that's even possible. Eri hugged Furry Mite. He's still small and cute. He needs to be spoiled. Izuku sighed. Eri, on his hind legs, he's taller than you. He handed the bag to Tenya. Could you hide this in the kitchen? No matter how I put it, she manages to reach. Tenya shot away. Furry Mite turned convictious eyes on Shoto, and tackled him. Oof. Shoto fell over. Furry Mite settled on his fireside, purring. Eri laughed and ran over to bury her face in the soft belly. Kitty strong! Kitty protect! She reached for a treat on the floor. Nope, no rewarding him for bad behavior. Izuku scooted away the treat with his foot. Todoroki, are you okay? So fluffy. Shoto sighed. I'm perfectly fine. I'm going to stay like this. Ochako snapped more pictures. Furry Mike galloped around the room with Eri on his back. Mina shot a laser pointer at the ground. Furry Mike pounced on the dot of light, her hair flying behind her. Eri laughed. Mina smiled too. This was fun, but she did need to make it to class on time. One of her hands holding the laser away from her, Mina inched towards the door. Furry Mike kept chasing after the red dot. Mina very slightly opened the door. At the creaking sound, Furry Mike turned to look. Mina winced. Sorry, Furry Mike. You can't come with me because you have to watch Eri. Isn't that right, Eri? Mina winked frantically. She bribed Eri with 3 toucan dolls to play with. Unfortunate incidents kept happening to all of Eri's stuffed toucans, so she required a constant supply of new ones. Eri caught the cue. She gripped Furry Mite's mane and cried, I need you to protect me from evil toucans. You'll stay with me, won't you? Furry Mite purred as Eri scratched behind his ears. He nuzzled her. Mina crept out the door and then slammed it behind her. Leaning against the door, she half collapsed from relief. I finally did it! I made it out of the dorms without the cat following me. A single tear trickled down her cheek. Midoriya is going to be very proud of me. She skipped off to class. Gigamakia had to prioritize protecting the little lady over helping the pink-haired girl find her way to the classroom. Besides, lately it seemed like her sense of direction was improving. Naturally, Gigamakia fully credited himself. He felt like a proud parent as he watched the pink-haired girl successfully make it to school on her own. Kota Izumi entered the living room, carrying a satchel full of board games. Hey, Eri, I brought games for us to play. She ran over, extending her hand for a high five. Yeah! Gigamakia leapt between them to stop them from touching. Hissing, his tail lashed. He had previously tolerated Kota's spiky hair because he was an excellent petter and had a huge fan of Little Lord. However, now the Lord has a secret daughter roughly the same age. The spiky hair situation had gotten much more dangerous. People with spiky hair only wanted one thing: the Lord's relatives. Even the hated All Might had downgraded to a lower threat than this boy. Coda sighed. Furry Might seems upset with me lately, even though we used to get along. My family taught me how to make cats like me, but nothing works. It's kind of hurtful. Eri said, Furima is very protective of me. She rubbed behind his ears. But I was here first, Koda grumbled. Gigamakia hissed at him. The two of them set up the board game on the coffee table and started to play. Gigamakia glared and sat on Eri's lap to stop the small, spiky-haired thief from running off with her. He's giving me that angry look again, Koda sighed. Eri said, even when Free Might is grumpy, he'd protect both of us. If anyone tries to hurt us, Free Might would kill them like a good kitty, just like he did to the evil toucan. Isn't that right, Furry Mike? It was true. Gigamakia would protect the boy who belonged to the little lord, even if he did have very bad no good hair. At least until the boy made a fishy move towards the little lady. He purred as his lady petted him. Eri said, I know how to make Furry Mite like you, Koda. We're gonna need to give him another enemy. Gently slipping out from under Furry Mite, she left and returned with a toucan doll tucked under his arm. Let's play Murder Overhaul! Momo designed and created these dolls so they scream when you rip them in two. She looked a little confused, but explained to her that it's for Furry Mite's training. Gigamaki had destroyed two more toucans and got amply rewarded with treats. He even let Koda help him rip a toucan in two. Koda held onto the wing while Gigamakia tugged with his teeth. Leaning down, Eri whispered to Gigamakia, why do you dislike Koda? Gigamakia gestured his paw at the boy's head. Eri said, I see. Overall had short dark hair, just like Sir Night-Eye. I heard Sir Night-Eye say some very mean things to Big Brother Izuku. After hearing all of Sir Night-Eye's crimes, Gigamakia was successfully convinced that people with short dark hair were the real enemy. Sir Night-Eye marched through the U.S. gate. Where's my 10th anniversary All Might poster? I can't find it anywhere. Midoriya, I saw that giant cat of yours lurking around my premises. Where is it, Midoriya? Only Katsuki Bakugo stood in the entryway. He gazed at Sir Night-Eye with dull, dead eyes. Give it up. You're not seeing that poster again. I certainly will not give up. My poster was the gem of my collection. Never again. Never again. Katsuki repeated in a maniacal tone until Sir Night-Eye backed away slowly, all the way out of UA. This is the last chapter. Omake time! From the mouths of babes. Eri, the good kitty stepped on a pest that bothered me. Azawa, how nice. Furry Mike got rid of a cockroach. Sir Night-Eye, on an unrelated note, we still have no idea where all my overhaul disappeared to. Now, the entire 8 precepts have been vanishing one by one. The downfall of all for one. Gigamakia, hi, I'm just calling to let Lenore know that I've been looking after his secret daughter very well. Inko, who is this? Oops, did I call the home phone? It must be these clumsy cat paws. Hubby, I heard you have a secret love child. Dear, it's all a misunderstanding. Curse the consequences of my actions for abandoned Gigamakia. Enko, where's my frying pan? Why you don't need love to produce a love child. Shoto, secret love children are brought by storks, just like all children. Izuku, oh my god. No one gave Shoto the sex talk. Someone needs to tell him. Not it. Ochako, not it. Tenya, not it. Izuku, when two people love each other very much, Shoto, silly, I know what sex is. But what does that have to do with babies? My parents were very poor terms, and they stopped having sex long before my conception. But my mom went to a doctor and came back pregnant with me. Izuku, oh my god, Shoto is genetically engineered to get the perfect quirk. And what was possibly a criminal act. Someone needs to tell him. Ochako, not it. Tenya, not it. Amake, even in the AU where Sir Knight lives, he can't keep that poster. Alas, Izuku, alas, Sir Knight I carelessly lost his poster. I can't give him my new one. He couldn't be trusted to look after it. Sir Night I'd rather die than give up my poster, and I know your new poster is mine. Don't walk away from me. Get back here. Amake, All Might gets a taste of second place. Gigabakia, All Might is no longer number one enemy. Kodaizumi is a bigger threat. All Might, somehow this feels even more lonely than being hated. How Furry Might and Koda reconciled. Mandalay, man, Koda, I used to complain about heroes all the time. Gigamakia, eavesdropping. If he dislikes heroes, then I guess he's not like the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad brother thief. Mandalay, he even kicked an innocent hero student in the crotch. Gigamakia, I like this child again. Koda, why do I feel such chill go down my spine? If it's as if a disaster was averted by a convenient misunderstanding. I love this fic way too much. You guys don't realize this. I actually, well, this is the end of it. I recorded this all in one sitting. I regret this. Now, I do have bloopers because they were kind of funny, and my voice is giving out. um, I actually, I recommend checking out Katydid's fic though because Katydid's fic actually has art on it. The second chapter has art at the bottom. It's great. It's absolutely lovely. I probably made Furry Might a little too big in my drawing, or made Izuku too short. One way or another, who cares? I had fun with this. My brain is like short circuiting right now. Is this how Danky feels? I also gained another friend in the recording. Doll's here. Sailor's editing, so I'm not even gonna try to get Sailor's attention. But if you want to say hi, Doll, you can.
Oh, hey, I have to be really, really quiet.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Anyway, this was a project, alright? Anyway, I'm gonna finish this up and let you guys listen to bloopers. So, bye! But it wouldn't stop Gakamarkia potted? A furry lamp. A as furry might fuck. Class Baker versus Furry Might. I swear, I will cook enough Kotas, Kudas, Kuta.